2018, I got job offers from Disney Corporate Strategy, Warner Bros. Corporate Strategy, STX Entertainment, Hulu Content Planning and Analysis, and I pulled out of an interview process with Netflix Content Strategy. I didn't go to Harvard, I didn't work at Goldman Sachs or LEK, I didn't know anyone in LA, and my dad's not a Hollywood executive. I just put in the work in a smart way, and I did it while working 80 plus hours a week at an investment banking role. I also wasn't sitting there with my fingers crossed, not knowing if I had a chance or not. By the end of the interview, I knew I was one of the top contenders. The industry has changed quite a bit since 2018, but the strategic fundamentals that I picked up are still relevant, and I'm gonna share them with you in this video. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Peter. I'm an ex-Wall Street banker and ex-Hollywood analyst turned content creator, and I make content about careers and trends in finance and entertainment. I also make Excel speedrunning videos, so check those out too. Stay to the end of this video to get all 5 of my personal tactics that gave me an edge while I was recruiting from New York investment banking to the very, very different and exciting world of Hollywood and Los Angeles. Let's dive in. Number 1 is talk the talk with industry research. This is table stakes. If you didn't do this homework and you didn't get the offers, then frankly, I don't think you wanted it enough. It's a common myth that you need to be a banker or a consultant that's focused on tech or media to get an edge for tech and media company roles. Unlike chemicals or oil and gas, tech media consumer companies don't need to be convinced that you're passionate about that industry. What's actually more important is that you're not a fake interested person. Hollywood is inundated with people in their early careers that are like, oh, I watch Netflix, maybe I want to work for Netflix. Not understanding that Hollywood is its own complex industry with its own set of challenges, strategies, and analyses. What's a studio versus a distributor? What's a theatrical window versus a pay 2? What's the difference between AVOD and SVOD? To get these base understandings, I recommend starting with skimming the headlines of Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Recode Media. You don't even have to read these articles, just reading the headlines is a great start. I found these publications the most helpful. Wall Street Journal and New York Times, to me, wasn't as fun or valuable. Hollywood people that are going to be networking with you aren't really reading those journals either. If you can get your hands on equity research, I suggest putting in the time to fully read initiating research for Disney, Netflix, and any other media company you want to interview for. For media, my favorite banks for research are Morgan Stanley and Barclays. Number 2 is to network effectively. I could probably make 3 hours of videos on networking. Here's the condensed version. If you're going from New York finance to LA Hollywood, there's many gaps in culture. There's the New York to LA culture gap. There's the services to operator culture gap, and there's the finance to entertainment culture gap. To bridge that gap, you have to have a certain amount of EQ and be willing to put in the work to absorb the culture as you're networking and doing these coffee chats. So start coffee chats early. I suggest starting with high warmth, lower value targets. High warmth meaning people that already know you or are close friends with you. When you're networking into the media industry, focus on getting 3 buckets of information: company structure, company culture, and company strategy. Company structure meaning what are the teams and how do they work together. For example, at Hulu, I worked with the content planning and analysis team. This sat under the CFO and actually had 2 sides. The budgeting side that was like a traditional FP&A side, and a deal structuring side that was like a banking role but for TV shows. They then worked with people in content acquisition that actually did the deal negotiations with studios. My equivalent team at Netflix was about 50 people. That team at Hulu was about 8 people at the time. Doing this level of due diligence makes you seem a lot more literate and confident and one of us, like an industry insider, when you're having conversations in the future with other people. Company culture. This is the softer stuff. I'm not sure how to articulate this other than saying, read the room and get the vibe. Finance is definitely a little bit more bro-y and a little bit more hardo than Hollywood. Netflix kind of bridges the gap, but most other entertainment companies feels a lot more laid back and relaxed. You don't want to be talking about Joe Rogan and the NFL and micro gut biome optimization unless that person is specifically interested. More the norm is definitely going to be Kim Kardashian, Succession, and how Margot Robbie did in Barbie. Last is company strategy. This is the bread and butter. You're not always going to be able to tease this out. It's going to help you the most in interviews. It's the stuff that's not going to be Googleable, that the company is thinking about, the company is worried about, the company is excited about. Asking them, hey, I read this in the news. What is your perspective on it? We'll get you an understanding of how the company is thinking about the future, and then you can give your own perspective on that in the interviews. This brings me to my next point, which is to have a differentiated perspective on the company. Similar to industry research, you should have all the baseline Googleable things under your belt for the company. To rattle some off: market cap, earnings, debt, enterprise value, recent M&A, product launches, content acquisitions, legal issues, and a basic understanding of their business model and SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's just table stakes. You need to have a little bit of an edge. You can get that through networking and digging just a bit deeper online. What really set me apart as a candidate is that I spent the time to really dig into resources online. For example, there was this YouTube video when I was recruiting of Kevin Mayer being interviewed by an old cable network. It only had 500 views, but he was giving such a detailed perspective on the way that he thought about either the Pixar or the Marvel acquisition. Then later, I was regurgitating a lot of that framework back to the person that was hiring me, whose boss was Kevin Mayer. I guarantee you none of the other candidates watched that video. There's a lot more information online nowadays, so finding alpha might be harder, but look for industry-specific journals and creators. Recently, I've been really into the information around creator economy. I heard Matt Ball is very good for stuff around media and entertainment. For me, Stratechery was a huge leg up on understanding the media industry and being able to articulate different companies' strategic advantages and disadvantages. Number 4 is to match your timeline with MBA programs. Most of the media roles that hire out of consulting and investment banking have candidates regularly roll out to HBS and Stanford grad school. That means these roles are somewhat predictably open. When does business school start? I'm not really sure, but I'm sure in the fall, August or something. People leaving generally want to spend a month to 3 months before B school traveling in Southeast Asia or Europe, so they generally leave in the summer. It seems that they put in their notice in January after their bonuses are announced. Around December, I had a lull. I spent a lot of time researching and reaching out here so that in January, I had a lot of coffee chats lined up. Around February, the job postings were coming out from the major companies that I wanted to interview for. So through February, March, I spent a lot of time networking and interviewing. And then in April, I had my final rounds in LA, which I was able to line up together. Keep this timeline in mind because I think it'll be very helpful. Another thing that helped is that I built a lot of goodwill and allies in the first year by putting in that extra effort. I was able to get the cover I needed in the second year to recruit, interview when I needed to, go to the doctor for interviews, and fly out to LA for 3 days out of a week in April. And last point is to mitigate risks specific to LA and media. You'll have to study for the question of why do you want to move to LA and why do you want to work in media? What I realized throughout recruiting is that Hollywood gets a lot of top tier candidates. The only problem is that half of these top tier candidates use LA and media as a backup to different cities and different industries. A lot of people coming out of Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bain and McKinsey, they actually want to work for Apple or Amazon or Tesla or Coinbase. But if they can't get those jobs, they're okay with working with Netflix. It's a cool company, with Warner Bros, with Hulu. Or they actually want to stay in finance and work for Oaktree or KKR, and they just wanted to check out what it would be like to recruit for a company like Netflix. Push comes to shove, a lot of these top candidates go through the pipeline and then at the end back out and say, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I actually don't want to leave New York. My family's there. Or, you know, I wanted California, but I actually like SF more. These Hollywood companies have been burned before. They don't want to waste time on candidates that actually aren't serious about entertainment or LA. You shouldn't lie here, but I was definitely dedicated to getting into entertainment and media in Los Angeles. So after a while, I actually full out said that. I said, I'm only recruiting for media companies and I'm only recruiting in LA. When they asked me, oh, is your girlfriend there? Is your family there? I did tell a bit of a white lie and said, hey, I went to NYU. I have a lot of actor friends that are coming out here and I'm excited to live and move here. Alrighty, those are some of the core points that helped me during recruiting. I hope that was valuable to you, whether you're just exploring or super passionate about pursuing a career in entertainment and media. If it was valuable, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so I know to keep making videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.